How can a prominent British baron, a Hollywood producer, and a wealthy heir to the Rockefeller empire be the exact same person? More importantly, why was a quiet backyard in California holding his darkest secret? In May 1994, in the serene suburbs of San Marino, California, workers were excavating a backyard to build a swimming pool, but at a depth of over 1 meter, their shovels hit something tragic. Locked inside 3 tightly bound plastic bags was the skeletal remains of an adult male. Forensic examination revealed the victim had suffered severe physical trauma. Investigators soon linked the property to its 1980s residents, an elderly woman named Dee Dee, her son John, and his wife Linda. Living in the guest house back then was a charming man calling himself Christopher Chichester, a self-proclaimed British baron. But in 1985, John and Linda suddenly vanished, supposedly moving to New York for work. Soon after, the aristocratic tenant disappeared too. For years, the case went cold, kept alive only by bizarre postcards sent to Linda's mother from Paris, signed by the couple. Yet, Linda had no passport and no money for such a trip. Handwriting experts later confirmed a chilling detail. At least one postcard was genuinely written by Linda before she disappeared. But the truth remained buried until a decade later, when forensics confirmed the backyard remains belonged to John. He had not left California. His life had been brutally taken. The breakthrough came in 2008, thousands of miles away in Boston. A man named Clark Rockefeller was arrested for parental kidnapping. As his face hit the national news, detectives in California gasped. Clark Rockefeller was the spitting image of Christopher Chichester. In reality, he was neither royalty nor a Rockefeller. His real name was Christian Gerhard Schreiter, a German citizen who moved to the U.S. at age 17. For 20 years, he lied his way into high society, pretending to be a Hollywood producer and a Wall Street broker, even running an office of real bond experts. During his time at the property, Christian had told the couple he was a secret agent, recruiting John for a top-secret government mission, which explained their sudden departure. Witnesses later recalled highly suspicious behavior. An elderly couple revealed Christian once tried to sell them a carpet with a massive blood stain. Neighbors also remembered smoke rising from the guest house when he burned it. Christian had also borrowed a chainsaw during the exact spring the couple vanished, and claimed backyard digging was just for plumbing issues. Years later, John's pickup truck was found in Connecticut, put up for sale by none other than Christian himself. Investigators discovered his ultimate motive: to swindle Dee Dee out of her valuable estate. He even arranged for a couple to care for Dee Dee, securing a $40,000 kickback from her inheritance. Christian was found guilty of first-degree murder. Yet, to this day, one question remains unanswered: what truly happened to Linda Sohus? The Whitaker family from Sugar Land, Texas, was once seen as the absolute definition of a perfect family. Kent Whitaker worked in his family's construction company. His wife Patricia was a former elementary school teacher, and they had 2 sons, 23-year-old Bart and 19-year-old Kevin. In December 2003, the family held a dinner to celebrate Bart's graduation from Sam Houston State University. During the meal, his father, younger brother, and mother surprised Bart with a breathtaking gift: a luxury Rolex watch worth $4,000. This lavish lifestyle wasn't new to Bart, as his parents had already provided him with luxury cars, a townhouse, and fully paid tuition first at Baylor University, and then at Sam Houston State. But right after the dinner, as the family returned home, a brutal nightmare unfolded in seconds. The moment Kevin stepped inside, a masked intruder hiding in the dark opened fire, shooting him directly in the chest. The bullet pierced his heart, causing Kevin to collapse instantly. Patricia, walking right behind her son, was also shot in the chest. The father, Kent, was still on the front porch when a bullet hit him at an angle, tearing through his chest, missing his heart by just 15 centimeters, fracturing his shoulder and arm. Bart was supposedly walking to his car to grab his cell phone. Hearing the gunshots, he rushed inside and confronted the attacker. After a desperate struggle, Bart was shot in the arm, and the gunman escaped through the back door. Kevin passed away minutes after being hit. Patricia was rushed to the hospital but did not survive, leaving only Kent and Bart alive. Initially, police suspected a robbery caught in the act, but the crime scene suggested the exact opposite. Drawers were only slightly pulled out, nothing was ransacked, and valuable items remained untouched. Detectives found a handgun registered under Kevin's name, along with a black men's leather glove near Bart's car. The killer had broken in through a second-floor window in Kevin's room, then opened a gun safe to steal Kevin's weapon, which was actually a gift Bart had previously given him. As the investigation progressed, a chilling truth began to surface. Bart had never actually attended Sam Houston State University. He had dropped out, lying to his parents to receive tuition money for his personal spending. Then, a former high school classmate named Adam Hipp came forward. He revealed that back in 2001, Bart had tried to hire him to eliminate his family. The plot was identical. Hipp was supposed to hide in the house during a family dinner, shoot the parents and brother, and then Bart would shoot himself in the arm to look like a victim. Horrifyingly, both parents had actually been warned about this plot years ago by the police after an informant tipped them off. But back then, the plan sounded too absurd, and Bart managed to convince them it was just a huge misunderstanding. Cops also found that in 2000, Bart had tried to recruit another student at Baylor for a similar plot. To avoid prosecution for the 2001 plot, Adam Hipp wore a wire for the police, recording Bart offering $20,000 to lie to investigators. For some reason, police delayed Bart's arrest, and they paid heavily for this delay. In 2004, Bart's car was found running and empty near an apartment complex in Houston. He had vanished. For over a year, his whereabouts remained a complete mystery. Cops wiretapped and interrogated his close associates, including Chris Brashear and Stephen Champagne. Under immense pressure, Stephen cracked. He confessed he didn't know where Bart was, but admitted he was the getaway driver who picked up Chris Brashear from the Whitaker home on the night of the crime. Chris was the actual gunman. By September, a man named Rudy Rios revealed that Bart had bought his identity, hired him to drive him into Mexico. In Mexico, Bart used Rudy's name and told bizarre lies, claiming his gunshot wound was from the war in Afghanistan, that he was an orphan, and that his mother was a sex worker. Finally, Bart Whitaker was tracked down and arrested. He had orchestrated the slaughter of his own family to inherit a $1.5 million estate, promising his accomplices millions from the inheritance. Bart claimed he did it because he snapped under immense family pressure. Chris Brashear took a plea deal for life in prison, while Stephen Champagne received 15 years for his testimony and has since been released. The jury took just 30 minutes to convict Bart of capital murder, sentencing him to death. But the most shocking twist of all was the person who campaigned tirelessly to save Bart from death row. It was his own father, Kent, the very man Bart had tried to eliminate multiple times. On February 22, 2018, at exactly 5:15 p.m., just 45 minutes before Bart was scheduled to be strapped to the gurney for lethal injection, his death sentence was commuted to life in prison, thanks to his father's relentless fight. Today, Kent still visits his son, the man who took everything from him, living out the rest of his days behind bars. Moving on to our third case. A chilling mystery from Europe that triggered the most expensive and massive DNA manhunt in Italian history. In November 2010, a 13-year-old girl named Yara disappeared. She left her home shortly after 5 p.m. to attend a gymnastics class. The gym was only a few hundred meters away, but by 7 p.m., Yara had not returned. Her worried parents tried to call her but couldn't get through, prompting them to immediately contact the police. Within minutes, state police and military forces were mobilized for a massive search. Her coach confirmed seeing her leave the gym, and Yara had texted a friend at 6:44 p.m. But that was the last time anyone ever heard from her. A police dog tracked her scent to a small village called Brembate di Sopra, where her phone pinged for the very last time. A massive investigation began, including wiretapping hundreds of phones to track everyone present in the area. During this, police intercepted a bizarre conversation. A Moroccan man named Mohammed Fikri was heard saying, "Please God forgive me, I didn't kill her." Interpreters believed this was an ambiguous confession, and detectives found he had suddenly boarded a ship to Tangier. Fikri was arrested, and a blood-stained mattress was found in his belongings. Many believed the worst had happened. However, while Fikri was in custody, the truth emerged. His words had been mistranslated, and the blood on the mattress didn't belong to Yara. Fikri was released, and the entire nation of Italy went back to square one. 3 months later, the country was shattered. A man flying a remote-controlled plane spotted something strange in a field. It was a pair of small shoes, leading to a frozen, decomposed body. It was Yara. Top forensic experts concluded she passed away from exposure after being attacked and abandoned in the cold. She wasn't sexually assaulted, but had over a dozen cuts from a sharp object. Traces of lime were found in her respiratory tract, and plant fibers used for ropes were on her clothes, suggesting the attacker likely worked in the construction industry. Most importantly, an unknown male DNA sample was found on Yara's underwear, suggesting the killer was injured during the struggle. With almost no other clues, the entire case shifted to this DNA profile. It became the most expensive manhunt in Italy. Over 18,000 DNA samples were collected. After thousands of tests, police found a near match with a man named Damiano Garinoni. However, Damiano was in South America when Yara vanished, and his DNA didn't match perfectly. But it proved he was a blood relative of the killer. The problem was, Damiano's father had 11 siblings, expanding the search area to a massive scale. Detectives looked into Giuseppe, Damiano's late uncle, who had passed away 11 years before the crime. Luckily, Giuseppe's widow handed over an old box of documents containing a postcard he had sent to the family. Cops managed to extract DNA from the stamp Giuseppe had licked decades ago. The result confirmed Giuseppe was the biological father of the killer. Giuseppe had 3 legitimate children, but their DNA didn't match. This meant only one thing: Giuseppe had an illegitimate child. Giuseppe's body was even exhumed for a final DNA confirmation, and it was a perfect match. The hunt turned to uncovering a secret affair from 30 to 40 years ago. Based on rumors and tips, an old colleague revealed that Giuseppe, who worked as a bus driver, had gotten a woman into trouble back in the 70s. Her name was Esther Arzuffi. Her DNA was tested but initially didn't match, until police realized a critical mistake. They had accidentally compared her DNA to Yara's, instead of comparing it to the suspect's DNA. When tested correctly, a shocking truth exploded. Esther had given birth to twins, a boy and a girl, and the boy's name was Massimo Giuseppe Bassetti. Why did her son share the exact middle name of the man she denied having an affair with? Massimo was a 43-year-old construction worker, living in the exact area where Yara's phone last pinged. His profession perfectly matched the lime traces found on the victim. Police set up a fake breathalyzer checkpoint to secretly gather Massimo's DNA. The test confirmed Massimo was indeed Giuseppe's biological son, and his DNA matched the killer's perfectly. Massimo Bassetti was convicted and sentenced to life in prison for the tragic demise of young Yara. Turning to our fourth case. A bizarre story from California where a woman's unexplainable vision solved a dark mystery, but ended up turning her into the prime suspect. In December 1980, a 31-year-old single mother and nurse named Melanie failed to show up for her shift at a California hospital. When colleagues couldn't reach her, they immediately contacted the police. Her sudden disappearance made headlines across the state, but investigators had absolutely zero leads. 2 days later, a woman named Lucy Smith, a logistics clerk with a high-level security clearance at an aerospace factory, experienced something unexplainable while listening to the news. She described it as a sudden vision, a vivid, psychic flash. In her mind, she clearly saw the body of a missing woman lying on a remote hillside in Lopez Canyon. Lucy decided to report this vision to the police. Though highly skeptical, detectives listened because of her serious career and pristine background, and they asked her to point out the location on a map. Fearing that the police wouldn't check thoroughly, Lucy took her 2 children and granddaughter to the area to search for themselves. After just 30 minutes, her daughter spotted a tragic scene. Melanie had been abducted, assaulted, and left on the hillside. Instantly, The police turned their suspicion directly onto Lucy. They questioned how a mere vision could be so incredibly specific and accurate. Lucy was subjected to an intense, 10-hour interrogation. She was strip-searched, locked barefoot in a jail cell, and denied food or water for 24 hours. Investigators hoped she would break and confess to how she truly knew the exact location. Despite having no evidence, they officially arrested her. Meanwhile, a man was boasting to his neighbors that he had just robbed and killed a woman. The neighbors immediately tipped off the police, leading to his arrest just days later. The man confessed and named 2 accomplices, including a 17-year-old teenager. The trio had spotted Melanie in her pickup truck at a red light, forced their way inside, and drove her into the canyon. None of them had ever met or even heard of Lucy. 4 days after her wrongful arrest, Lucy was finally released. 6 years later, she sued the Los Angeles Police Department for unlawful arrest, winning the lawsuit and receiving a settlement. After that traumatic experience, Lucy vowed never to share any of her visions ever again, becoming a textbook example of how a good deed can lead to an unjust punishment. Finally, we arrive at our 5th and final case. A baffling mystery inside a hotel room, where a man lost his life without a single external mark on his body. In September 2010, a 55-year-old petroleum businessman named Greg checked into the Elegant Hotel. He entered room 348, and never walked out alive. The next morning, when Greg didn't call his wife or show up at his office, 2 colleagues went to the hotel and asked the manager to open the door. Inside, they tragically found Greg's body on the floor. The TV was still on. Candy and cigarettes were scattered everywhere, but $1,000 in cash remained untouched. There were no signs of a break-in or a struggle. Greg was a heavy smoker, even holding a cigarette between his fingers when he passed away. Initially, investigators assumed it was a natural event, like a sudden heart attack. But the forensic examination revealed a horrifying reality. His ribs were fractured, his internal organs were severely ruptured, and his heart had a puncture wound. Greg had suffered massive internal trauma as if he had been crushed. Yet, remarkably, there were almost no external bruises on his body, except for a minor mark near his groin. Doctors knew that with such severe internal damage, a person would expire within 30 seconds, meaning he was attacked right inside his room. But the room was perfectly neat, and neighbors heard absolutely nothing. The only unusual event that night was that Greg used a microwave to make popcorn, causing a power outage that required a maintenance worker to fix the electricity. Detectives briefly suspected the worker, who had a past criminal record, but he had a solid alibi. Next, they looked at a group of electricians staying in the adjacent room who had been drinking that night, thinking a fight broke out over the power outage. But the men denied seeing Greg, and the composition of the cigarette in his hand proved he wasn't in a fight. The case went cold for months, despite a $50,000 reward from the family. That was until a legendary private investigator and former federal agent named Ken Brennan took over. Brennan noticed a tiny detail. The cigarette was in Greg's left hand, but his wife insisted he was strictly right-handed. Brennan realized Greg must have switched hands to open the door for someone after the power outage. This led him back to the electricians next door. During re-interrogation, one electrician casually mentioned hearing a loud pop like a gunshot. Brennan formed a radical theory. He searched the rooms and discovered a tiny, repaired dent on the wall. Checking the electrician's room, he found the matching entry point. A bullet had traveled straight through the wall and into Greg's room. Forensic doctors initially doubted this because they found no bullet entry wound on Greg's body. But Brennan asked a brilliant question. Could the bullet have entered through the ruptured groin area where the skin folds concealed it? After a careful re-examination, the doctors agreed. The bullet had torn through his internal organs from a unique angle, mimicking the effects of a brutal beating. The hole in his heart was actually a bullet wound. On that fateful night, an electrician named Lance Muller was playing with a firearm when it accidentally discharged. The bullet pierced the wall, striking Greg instantly while he was calmly holding his cigarette. Muller didn't even know someone was in the next room. He simply used toothpaste to patch up the tiny bullet hole in his own wall, hiding a tragic truth that took months of brilliant detective work to finally uncover. 5 shocking cases. 5 unexpected endings. Showing us that sometimes, the truth is stranger than fiction. Which of these 5 cases baffled you the most? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one of them. If you enjoyed this deep dive into these dark criminal minds, please give this video a thumbs up, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications, so you never miss our weekly true crime documentaries. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next file. A dramatic, cinematic outro screen for a YouTube video. A dark background with a subtle glowing subscribe button template. Neon blue and orange accents. Sleek design, AR-16-9, a silhouette of a detective walking away into a foggy, dimly lit city street at night. Cinematic lighting, deep shadows, hauntingly beautiful atmosphere,